Welcome to another episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers. I'm your host, Dennis Coral, and we continue here with our guest, Alejandra Moreno from ASM Law Group. Thank you for
Dennis.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Today, I want to talk more in depth on the areas of estate planning, probate, and guardianship, which is an area that you've been doing for now over 15 years, I think?
Almost 15, yeah.
Almost 15.
Yeah, our entire practice revolves around what is known as elder law, which is estate planning, guardianships, and probate, because they're all in the same courthouse. But they're very different, and I don't think they necessarily just pertain to elderly people. So with estate planning, there's a wide array of documents that consists of estate planning. And people just know, a will, last will and testament, or a trust. Some people know power of attorney, maybe, healthcare surrogate. So we have the advanced directives, which are the power of attorney. So if you're incapacitated, who's going to make financial decisions for you? You have your healthcare surrogate. If you're incapacitated, who's going to make medical decisions for you? We have a document called the living will, which is if you have no chance of recuperation, you don't want to live artificially. That's basically a legal DNR. We have, our last will and testament. A lot of people don't know that if you pass away with or without a will, your estate's going to end up in probate. That's a big, a lot of people come to our office and they say, why do we have to do probate? My dad died with a will. I'm like, yeah, wills go to probate. It's a big misconception. Trusts are kind of the sexy one that avoids probate, but there are a lot of other tools that also avoid probate. You don't have to spend a bunch of money on a trust. A trust is not that expensive, which is another misconception. But estate planning is definitely a big portion of our practice. And then there's kind of the before and after. If you do your estate plan, you can avoid guardianships and probate. If you don't have your estate plan done, so I spoke about the advanced directives, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate. If you don't have those documents and you are incapacitated, the way that somebody will be able to access your finances, make medical decisions is through a guardianship. And a guardianship is a court case where you notify the court there's this person that can't take care of themselves, and another person has to be appointed their guardian. And that is a lifelong case. Unless the person suddenly recuperates, you're going to be in a guardianship forever. And even though those decision-making powers are delegated to a guardian, you still need a court order to make any moves, to spend money, to get access to money, whatever it is. So that is, one of the court sides of not having proper estate planning. And then there's probate. If you pass away with or without a will, your assets end up in probate. And that's a court process where the court basically names somebody to marshal all of the deceased person's assets, and then they distribute it to the heirs. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but that's basically, what those three areas of law look like.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up, because in our space, in the wealth management space, a lot of what you do intertwines with what we do as well. We could do everything well. Over the last 3 years, the average return of the S&P 500 is over 30%, and the Nasdaq has even outperformed the S&P 500. And we've done well for our clients financially, and we've helped them grow their wealth over time. But I think I always say this: we could do everything right for you and organize and have our plan and continue with our process and structure. But if we don't have a estate plan in place, we're throwing that out the window.
Right.
Because then you're going to have to pay the legal expense, because you're going to have to go to pay for that if you don't do your estate plan. Then you're also going to have the time that it's going to take you to settle that, which, as I understand, it can be a lengthy process.
And expensive,
and
yes.
It can be expensive. And also the stress of it. And the whole idea of working with ours and as a team is that we empower our clients and we provide them peace of mind at the end of the day. Not having an estate plan does not give you peace of mind.
Right.
That's going to give you nightmares, stress, and it could tie up your money.
Yes.
And if you're retired and living off those funds, that could tie up your funds for months. And if you're living off that income, it will be a nightmare.
Oh, gosh.
It could get you in a financial pickle.
Yes.
So as we have mutual clients, as you know, we've worked for many years in the guardianship space, is just as important. I remember helping the mutual client that you sent to us, thank you, by the way, that when she started, she didn't have any type of retirement account. And this is someone that is never going to go to work ever.
Right.
So, and you're not dealing with millions of dollars either, that she has $20-30 million. This is the average person that may have significant wealth, but not in the $30-40 million range, where you need to make every dollar count
Yes.
for that person, because at some point they will need these funds, whether they may be when they're 21 or they may be 35, but this individual is never going to go back to work.
Right.
So structuring something that can help them continue to grow their little nest egg is extremely valuable.
Yes.
And that ties to what you do. But this would have not happened had that legal document existed.
Right. Right.
You know, that needed to come first from you.
And you mentioned how you want to empower your clients, you know, to understand what their financial overview looks like. I think that is so powerful, because I know so many clients who do their estate plan and they literally just have one conversation with an attorney, they sign everything, and they don't know how their estate plan works. And we do put a lot of effort into making sure our clients understand their estate plan so they can continue to manage their estate plan and they can continue to make sure that it functions properly. We're always here as a resource. You know, clients can always call us. We're happy to help, but we want to make sure that they know if they open up a new account, if they buy a property, if they open up a company, all of that has to come into your estate plan. And you have sent us many estate planning clients, and after we make sure that they understand, we'll even tell them, okay, I'm going to send you a scanned copy of your documents. Do you want me to send it to Dennis as well, so he can make sure that all of your, you know, accounts are updated and he can put it in his vault?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and that is such an important aspect to estate planning that a lot of people don't get, you know, that little bit. You know, we send our client funding memos to make sure that if they do a trust, it functions correctly. We send them letters once a year. If there are changes in the law, we want to make sure they can look for that specific information in their estate plan and reach out to us if they need to make any changes. So that empowering the client to understand, empowering the client to know what they have and how it works is a critical aspect of the estate planning process and the financial planning process.
That's right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do remember a few instances where when I know that they finished their process with you, I even ask you. I don't even I even go beyond. I said, hey, send me the legal document.
Right.
But in our practice, it's just to see, we have a 5-step process of that we follow for every single one of our clients that's helped us stay on top of things and make sure that things don't fall through the cracks.
Right.
One of those 5 steps in our process of helping clients is execution. So when I mean execution, when I share that to a client, it means that we're going to take on the advice and recommendations that we put in writing for you. But then we're going to monitor those recommendations on an ongoing basis,
Right.
which very few professionals do. You know, they're just interested in your money. They're
It's
just
a one and done.
interested in getting paid or their commission, whatever way they work, and they don't look after about your well-being. And
Right.
that's, I think, the missing key where most financial plans sometimes fail, or where most people feel disappointed with the person they're working with, because there was a lack of execution and monitoring.
Right.
So when it comes to estate planning, we always help our clients, and we've done this over the years, retitle the assets.
Yes.
So when you send us a copy of the trust documents, we do the process of retitling the account into the name of the trust, into the name of the whatever they created at the time. And it's something that we do second nature, but very few people do. And I remember that when you helped me do my own trust, you also sent me the same instructions as if I didn't know what I had to do, but I follow my advice.
Yes.
You know, it's very important that your financial professional that you work with also follows the advice that he gives you. So when I say to clients, you should have a trust, you should consider having a revocable trust. You're a business owner. You accumulated a couple of homes. You have a significant retirement account. You have significant investments. You are married. You have kids. They're
Yes.
minor. They're responsible. You know, as a responsible adults and parents, it would be irresponsible not to at least have a conversation with an estate planning attorney. And I try to lead them your way, not to just their best friend's attorney or a friend that they do pickleball
Right.
attorney. It's someone that really specializes on estate planning. And let's talk about like a little bit more in depth in guardianships, because we have dabbled with guardianships over the
Yes.
last few years. It's not a simple process.
It's not.
It's a little bit more complex. There's a lot of legalities on it, and we're being able to help you with many of the clients
Yes,
that you
you have
entrusted
many of
us.
them.
And tell me more about that. How is it that you do a lot of guardianships? How do you work, and how How does that came to be in your part of your practice?
I mentioned that guardianships is for incapacitated people. That doesn't just mean old people that have Alzheimer's or dementia. Somebody who's under 18 is also, under the eyes of the law, considered incapacitated. Somebody who's under 18 cannot sign a legal document. Mm-hmm. So we get a lot of cases from, personal injury attorneys that there is an accident and there was a minor involved and they're receiving a settlement. Now, we have several judges on our panel for guardianships, and some judges are a lot more conservative. They have a huge responsibility to make sure that there is money when this child turns 18. But there are a lot of judges that are a little bit more open-minded, let's say. So those judges have allowed us to put not just a guardianship account with you, but, a kid that's receiving, hundreds of thousands of dollars, they might not need that money when they turn 18, but we can invest it in a 529, for example. You've done that for a few of our guardianship cases. And something, a product that you mentioned to me, and I had never heard of it, was a Roth for kids.
Mm-hmm. Minor Roth.
Yes, that's fantastic, because a lot of this money is now going to be put aside. It's going to grow. No, they're not going to have immediate access to it when they turn 18 without a penalty. But when they're retirement age, they have all of this money that they never touched. So it's like an added, portion of their retirement planning, which I think is excellent, because, if you're receiving this huge settlement, why not put it to work and make it benefit you for your life? And that's how you create generational wealth.
That's right.
Knowing how to put things aside and not touch it, not blow it on a, Ferrari or whatever the cool car is when you turn 18. That's such an important aspect to it. And I'm very thankful for the judges that are open-minded, because they see, yes, technically the minor's not going to have that money when they turn 18, but they're going to have that money when they're retiring. We're going to make it grow for their entire life. I think that's spectacular. And we have a lot of those cases. There are some minors that maybe it's a smaller account, that's not possible, but we cases, and they're kind of sold on it right away. They're like, wow, this is, if not, that money's going to sit in a checking account getting 0.01%. Yeah. That doesn't pay for the court fees, the accounting fees, everything else, the legal fees. It really doesn't. And you are able to make that, grow, protect it. And I think it's a huge benefit to some of these kids that might not have the financial background or knowledge, even when they're 18, even when they're 30. And you're setting them up for life. I think it's a wonderful thing that you've been able to do with some of those clients.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. It's important to look out for clients, like we mentioned earlier. It's important that you look out for clients, that you go beyond numbers, that you try to help them out. And we are living in South Florida, where a lot of parents sometimes travel a lot for work. They have to travel to Puerto Rico, Latin America for business, and sometimes they travel for leisure. And what if you don't make it?
Right.
People don't realize that sometimes things happen in life, and who would you want your child to be responsible? Who would you want someone to raise your child?
Right.
Would that be your parent? Maybe not, because they may be at a later age.
Right.
Maybe a sibling, or maybe a sister or brother, or maybe neither.
Yes.
Maybe neither. And if you're single or if you're married and both of you passed away, you don't want the state to dictate who's going to take care of your child.
No, of course not.
So
and a lot of older people are the ones talking about estate planning. I have tried to focus my practice on estate planning for young families. If you just got married, just bought a house, just had a kid, it's the perfect time to put something in writing. And as you mentioned, we try not to be that one and done professional. I want to make sure that we get something for you in writing when you're young, and I want to help you grow with your estate plan. I want you to call me when you have a new kid, when we're ready to upgrade your estate plan, when you're thinking about retirement. I want to represent you forever. And I don't really charge for most of that, but I want to make sure that we are getting you the best estate plan for your situation. And if you outgrow it, we're upgrading you. We can start you off in a Honda Civic, a Camry, right? But at some point you might be like Cadillac, Mercedes status, and it's not a one size fits all. It's not a download a LegalZoom and sign it. It's what are your needs? What are your wishes? What are your goals at this moment? And in 10 years, are those the same wants, needs, and goals? And if they're not, let's revamp it, And I feel like you do the same thing with your clients. It's with your clients and have that last as long as it can.
Yeah, and that's why we work really well together, because we're client centric. And yes, we do the same with clients, that we may start with something small, but then as we grow with our wealth, and maybe this is a business owner that maybe started with a SEP IRA, now we're gonna graduate them, I say. Now let's open up a 401k because now you have employees.
Are you talking about me?
Yes, totally. You have homework for me. We also like to give clients homework.
Yes, I love the homework.
That's important, but also that keeps us in check for ourselves and for our clients, because part of our help in helping clients is making sure we accomplish our goals. So subconsciously, by giving you a homework that's tied to a deadline, it makes you be successful, because we know that by that date, it puts kind of the fire on you to get things done, and we become successful. So it's psychologically playing with you.
It's great.
But going back to what I was telling you earlier, it's important to have a process. It's important to work with someone that cares, but more important to know that as you grow, there's tools in place, and we have the experience to help you as you grow professionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I was helping this client that we started with an IRA, then we did a SEP for his business. Now that he has employees, now we're doing a 401k. Now that he continues to grow, we're going to do other things that are more specific to his business, that's going to help him save close to $200,000 in taxes on an annual basis.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but in that conversation now has shifted now to, let's discuss now the next step, which is your estate plan. It's not an area of my practice, but I'm well versed enough to know that it is time for you to sit down with an estate planning attorney to discuss your needs and put those in writing. And I really like that in your practice, you work with clients based on their needs, based on their objectives, and that you grow with them.
Yes, absolutely.
I really like that about your practice. That makes your practice very unique, in my opinion, because you're not out trying to get the client to sign up for something that they don't need.
No, absolutely not. And if you're a young family, you just started a business, you just had kids, most people in that situation are kind of strapped for cash. And I don't want them to think estate planning is out of their budget. It's not. We can get you something that's within your budget and it protects your family. And then once you've grown a little bit and you're ready to upgrade, we can do that at that time. But getting something in writing is so important, and it's absolutely affordable because there are so many options out there.
Yeah. Thank you, Alejandra, for sharing that knowledge. Our next episode, we're going to go in more depth on some of the misconceptions on estate planning, probate, and guardianship, which we just discussed, that people may be aware, but not to really uncover some misunderstandings. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers. I'm your host, Dennis Coral. And as we like to say at Coral Wealth Management, retirement and financial confidence starts here. Thank you.